Buying a home is overwhelming, and it's easy to get swept up in the staging, the fresh paint, or that open concept kitchen. But once the paperwork is signed, every hidden problem becomes yours. Most guys walk in picturing the couch setup or backyard grill, not realizing they're stepping into a house with a sinking foundation. And that's where the regret starts. This video breaks down 9 design mistakes baked right into the house, the kind of red flags that cost real money, real fast. Whether you're buying your first home or your forever one, here's what to look for before you make the biggest purchase of your life. So join me in this walkthrough. Think of me as your unofficial agent for today. I'll help you spot the deal breakers before you make it official. Foundation red flags. Before you fall for the backsplash or the bay windows, check what's holding the house up. A cracked foundation isn't just a cosmetic issue, it's a structural red flag. Look for large exterior cracks, especially those that zigzag through brick or run horizontally. Inside, check above doors and windows. If they're cracked, the house may have shifted. That's a problem you don't want to inherit. Bring a marble or a golf ball in your pocket. Seriously, drop it on the floor and see if it rolls. Sloping floors, sticking doors, or uneven thresholds are all subtle warnings that the structure might not be stable. Repairs here can start in the thousands and spiral quickly, and foundation repairs aren't just costly, they're disruptive and often reveal deeper issues. Foundation repairs start around $3,000 to $5,000 and can climb much higher, especially if basement walls or drainage gets involved. You might think foundation issues are rare, but they're not. Around 25% of US homes will experience some form of structural distress, and nearly 80% of structural insurance claims are related to foundation movement. A home with foundation issues can lose 10 to 15% of its resale value. But let's say the foundation checks out. Now it's time to zoom in on the details, the kind of stuff bad builders hope you'll overlook. Substandard materials. Some floors are loud, like a sagging roofline. Others are sneaky. Not all bad builds look bad at first glance. Uneven tile work, misaligned cabinetry, or cheap trim can quietly expose a builder's shortcuts. These details might seem minor during a viewing, but they speak volumes about the overall quality of construction. And once you start noticing them, it's hard to unsee the pattern. Some homes shine with new paint and trendy hardware, but underneath? They're held together by the cheapest materials money can buy. Hollow core doors, paper-thin countertops, plastic trim pretending to be wood. These cost-cutting choices won't just age poorly. They'll cost you more in replacements than a quality finish ever would. Take a closer look at what's actually used in the space. Knock on walls and doors. Do they sound solid or hollow? Are those stone countertops actually laminate with a printed pattern? Are floors real hardwood or click-together vinyl that bubbles with moisture? Builders in competitive markets often shave costs with cheaper materials to boost profit margins. And if it looks flimsy now, it'll look worse in 2 years. Because you're not just buying a place to live, you're buying what it's made of. And speaking of things behind the scenes, let's talk about what's lurking in the pipes. Plumbing pitfalls. You can't see most plumbing, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Slow drains, stained ceilings, bubbling paint, musty smells. These aren't quirks, they're warnings. Behind the walls, you could be dealing with corroded pipes, leaky joints, or past water damage just waiting to resurface. Watch for signs of moisture around sinks, tubs, or under the kitchen. Slow drains, gurgling sounds, or standing water around fixtures can point to clogged or corroded pipes. Check ceilings below bathrooms for stains or blistering paint. It might mean a leak was patched on the surface, but not fixed properly. Don't ignore musty smells, water rings under sinks, or bubbling in wall paint. Those signs usually mean water is going where it shouldn't, and often point to long-term leaks or poor waterproofing, especially in basements and older homes where dampness creeps in undetected. Even the air can give things away. A sewer-like smell could mean a dry drain trap or a broken vent pipe, both signs of a neglected system. Always ask about the age of the plumbing and whether the home's had any major water repairs. You're not just buying what's visible, the package includes what's inside the walls too. A home that smells clean but hides rot is no bargain. But sometimes the real problem isn't hidden at all. It's right there in the sunlight you'll never get. Poor natural light. One of the most underrated deal breakers in any home? Bad natural light. It might look cozy during an evening showing, but come Monday morning, you're living in a cave. Natural light isn't just a visual preference. It affects everything from your energy levels to how colors show up in your furniture and walls. Windows that are too small, oddly placed, or blocked by overhangs and neighboring buildings can make even a well-decorated space feel cramped and lifeless. And while it's technically fixable, adding or enlarging windows is expensive, invasive, and often restricted by building codes. If a room feels dim during the day, that's a red flag. Try visiting the property at different hours to get the real picture. Natural light also plays into ventilation. A lack of sunlight often means poor airflow. Without fresh air and light, you're not just sacrificing comfort. You're risking moisture buildup and mold. Poor ventilation can trap indoor pollutants, cooking fumes, and allergens, leading to headaches, fatigue, and respiratory issues over time. Humid, stagnant air also creates the perfect breeding ground for dust mites and bacteria. And if there's no cross ventilation, meaning windows placed to let air pass through, you're essentially living in a sealed box. But if you think dim lighting is a buzzkill, wait until you hear everything. Noise and privacy issues. A quiet street at noon doesn't guarantee peace at night. Thin walls, hollow core doors, and poor insulation are design shortcuts that come back to bite, especially if you're near traffic, schools, or neighbors who treat every Saturday like a tailgate party. And once you're moved in, there's no easy fix for paper-thin walls. If the house echoes, or you can hear footsteps from another floor, that's your clue. Knock on interior walls, close doors, and listen. Open windows and pause. Is there a freeway hum in the distance? A barking dog 2 houses down? Sound might not seem like a big deal during a walkthrough, but live with it daily and it becomes the soundtrack to your stress. And it's not just noise. Poor soundproofing often means poor privacy. You don't want to hear your neighbor's business, or worse, have them hearing yours. Walk around and check the windows. Can you see directly into your neighbor's kitchen? Can they see into your bedroom or bathroom? Poor window placement, wide open layouts, and lack of fencing or tree coverage can leave you feeling exposed, even in your own home. Privacy, both visual and acoustic, isn't a luxury. It's a basic comfort. And while we're on the topic of comfort, let's talk about layout problems that can waste serious space. Bad layouts. You can't rearrange a hallway. And that oddly placed bathroom next to the dining area, that's not a design choice. It's a permanent headache. Awkward layouts are one of the most overlooked design mistakes because buyers get distracted by finishes, not flow. But trust me, once you live there, poor circulation, tight corners, and odd room adjacencies will drive you nuts. Look out for long, narrow hallways that waste square footage, dead-end rooms with no real purpose, or kitchens that trap you between an island and the fridge. And don't underestimate the importance of sightlines. You want to see the living room from the kitchen, not the laundry closet. Layouts should make daily life easier, not force you into weird detours just to get a glass of water. However, some layouts are a byproduct of outdated trends that just didn't age well. Sunken living rooms, giant built-in media niches, weirdly placed columns. Those may have looked cool in 2005, but now they make your space feel clunky and hard to furnish. Worse, they're expensive to rip out or modernize. Walk through the property with real-life habits in mind. How do you enter the house with groceries? Can you cook and talk to guests at the same time? Is there a natural separation between quiet zones and social areas? If a house forces you to live around its layout instead of supporting how you live, it's not worth the price tag. While you're at it, check for storage, not decorative shelves, actual usable storage. A home without proper closets, pantry space, or utility areas can look sleek at first, until you start living out of boxes. Next up, we'll dig into the cosmetic cover-ups that hide much bigger problems. Neglected upkeep. If the grout's crumbling, the faucet's leaking, and the AC filter looks like it's from 1998, you're not just buying a fixer-upper, you're buying someone else's laziness. Deferred maintenance is one of the biggest red flags because it means the current owner didn't care enough to handle basic upkeep. And if they've ignored the small stuff, what does that say about the roof, plumbing, or air conditioning system? Walk through the house with a sharper eye. Check for doors that don't close right, cracked windows, flickering lights, rusty vents, or stains on the ceiling. Don't get distracted by how the place was staged. Look at how it's actually functioning. If the home feels like it's been slowly falling apart, it probably has. Let's take a breather. I want to hear from you. How's the hunt going so far? Did you ever walk into a house and something just felt off? Drop a comment and tell me what gave it away. Weird floor plans, cracked tiles, zero closets. I've seen it all. And it's always the little things that spill the biggest secrets. Now, let's talk about the environmental risk no one thinks about until disaster strikes. Natural hazards. Here's what most buyers don't realize. Even the nicest house can become a nightmare if it's sitting in the wrong spot. Flood zones, wildfire risk areas, unstable hillsides, these are environmental issues that don't show up in an open house. But they can absolutely wreck your investment. In places like Florida, Louisiana, or parts of Texas, flood insurance isn't just recommended, it's required, and it's not cheap. You'll want to pull up the FEMA flood map, ask about drainage systems, and check for any past claims or water damage. Are the gutters overflowing? Does the backyard turn into a swamp after rain? What about the slope of the land? Is water moving toward the house or away from it? A beautiful home built in a bad spot is still a bad investment. And don't let the seller brush it off with, "It's never been a problem." Climate patterns are changing, and yesterday's safe zone can flood tomorrow. But there's another silent deal breaker you need to check before signing anything, and it's hiding in your signal bars. Hidden deal breakers. Some red flags aren't in the layout or finishes. They're in the walls. Termites, carpenter ants, mice. Once they've moved in, you're not just buying a house, you're buying their nest. A fresh coat of paint can't hide wood rot. And that musty smell in the corner of the basement? That's a silent alarm. Pest issues often start in places buyers rarely inspect. Attics, crawl spaces, undersinks. Get a professional inspection. Don't gamble with critters that chew through structure or insulation like it's a snack. Now let's talk about something most people forget until it's too late. Your phone signal. Walk around the house during your tour and check the bars. No signal in your living room. That's not just annoying, it's a daily frustration. And don't rely on Wi-Fi to fix everything. It's better to know now than after you've signed. Finally, talk to the neighbors. Yes, actually knock on a few doors. Aim for 3 to 5 and choose wisely. Focus on the ones adjacent to or directly around the property. Their perspective is gold. Ask how they really feel about the area. Is it noisy at night? Any odd power outages? Parking nightmares? Safety issues? You'd be surprised what people will tell you when they're not trying to sell you something. It's real-time intel no listing will ever include. Before you fall in love with a floor plan, make sure you're not signing up for someone else's mess. If this helped you feel more confident about choosing the right home, this next video will be your first step toward designing a space that actually feels like yours.